Are you gonna tell me where you went? All the messages I sent with no reply.
Hello everyone! Welcome back, Thousand Life fam. If you're new here, my name's Janet and this is Live a Thousand Lives. Today we're going to be going over my least favorite books of 2020. But before we begin, I would like to make a disclaimer that these are by no means the worst books I've ever read. These are just my least favorites of 2020. I'm by no way saying that the authors are bad or the books themselves are bad. They just don't fit with my reading tastes. I was going through my list to see what worst books there were, and I didn't really read any worst books. I decided instead to do just my least favorite books of 2020, and like I said, that is no way an indication on the author or the book itself. It is just due to my taste and my preferences. This is broken down into 3 categories. There are 3 books that are 3-star reads for me. There are 4 books that are 2 stars, and there are 3 books that are DNFs. That is how we're doing this. I had more 3 stars than just these 3, but these 3 were disappointing to me, which is why they were the least. Sorry if you can hear my kids in the background. They're being very loud. The first 3-star read that I had that was a very disappointing read to me was City of Ghost by Victoria Schwab. I wanted to love this. It has ghosts, it's Schwab. I've never read anything by Victoria Schwab except for This Savage Song. I read This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. I'd never read anything else by Victoria Schwab before, and I was anticipating loving this because it has to do with ghosts and stuff. But something just fell really flat for me. I didn't really enjoy the writing style in this. I didn't enjoy the characters. My favorite character was her best friend, and I just don't like it. I am going to continue on just because I'm interested to see what happens to the best friend, but it was really disappointing because I was thinking this was going to be a 5-star read for me, and it just felt really flat for me. The next book I want to talk about that I gave 3 stars to was The Lantern's Ember by Colleen Hook. This book sounded like it was going to be so amazing and exciting, and I was super thrilled to read it. This is a story about a jack-o'-lantern and how they are the protectors of the crossroads, and how there's a thing called the other world, and the other world is far more progressed in technology than our world. So it's like a historical fiction fantasy. I didn't like the main character. I loved Jack, but I didn't like the main character, Ember, and she was really annoying. I didn't like this one. I felt like some of the things that they did were completely and totally like irrational, and like I don't think that, especially for the time period that this is set in, I don't feel like especially like Ember would have made certain decisions like this. And I don't know, it was boring too. It was pretty boring. For the first like half of the book, I was like, I should DNF this book. I should DNF this book. And then the second half got better, so it got a 3-star. But I was really disappointed because I thought it was going to be like a really good book, and it just was not for me. Is A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. It's so hard for me to put it on this list because I loved the premise of this book. I loved the writing of this book. I enjoyed the mythology behind this book. and the fact that it's set in our world. However, I did not like the execution of this book. Like, it deals with great topics that we need more in books, like police brutality and what it's like to be a minority and all of that stuff. And it had great like friendship and family dynamics, but it was a little rushed at the end, and to the point where I was like, where did that come from? That came out of left field. That came out of nowhere. Like, what? And there were certain like myths that were just touched upon and not really like explained why they were a thing, and I didn't like it very much. But I do think that it's a very good read, and I think that everyone should read it. I just think that it wasn't, for what it like claimed to be, it wasn't that. So, you know, I was thinking it was gonna be mermaids and like, you know, we were gonna get a lot of that. We did not get a lot of that, actually. I still think you should check it out because of the hard-hitting topics that it has in it. The first one was The Power of Self-Compassion. This was an audiobook I listened to. It was one of the free Audible things. And I thought, oh, this will be great because I have a hard time with self-compassion. I am very compassionate towards other people. I'm not so compassionate towards myself. And so I thought, oh, this is going to be a great read. I did not like it. I did not enjoy it. I felt like it was rushed, and I felt like it was kind of condescending. So I gave it a 2. I think that if they can get someone who doesn't sound condescending and maybe rewrite it, it could be helpful. But it was not good. The next book I gave a 2-star to was Monstrous Volume 1. I don't even remember who this is by, and I don't care. So here's the thing. It looked really interesting. I've seen a lot of people like it, and that's great. I'm happy for you. I did not like this. I was reading it and I felt dark, and I felt ashamed, and I felt gross and sick to my stomach. So it's just not for me. I don't do well with gore. I don't do well with really dark, like dark magic type of stuff. I just don't do well with it. It makes me very uncomfortable. I just don't like it. And so I gave it a 2-star because I realized that the storyline was fine, but for me, it was not fine. It was very, very triggering for me. It's just something that made me super uncomfortable, and I couldn't do it. So I won't be continuing on with that. But if you like it, that is absolutely fine. I just did not. No, it's not for me. The next one is The Explorer by Catherine Rundle. I gave this a 2-star as well because I just didn't like it. It didn't mesh with. This is a middle grade that I tried to read, I think for Believe-a-thon, but now I'm not so sure. But I tried to read it and I did finish it. I listened to the audiobook for it and I did not like it at all. I felt like it portrayed the kids as very stupid. And for instance, there was a scene where they've just crashed in the jungle. They're terrified. And the youngest child, while everyone is asleep, decides to run off to scare them. Ain't happening. No child I know or have ever met would do that in that kind of situation. So I don't know, but I did not like it. I felt like it made children stupid. Also, The parents were like non-existent in this book, and their like guide is this man who is crazy. I don't know, it just wasn't for me, and that's okay. Most middle grades I have a very hard time with, so it doesn't surprise me, but it was probably one of the worst I read this year. But like I said, it's not a bad book, it just wasn't for me. The last 2-star book that I read in 2020, I listened to on audio and absolutely despised. Why I gave it a 2-star, I'm not sure. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, it deserves a 1-star. But that was Alone with the Stars by David Gilham. I listened to this on a whim. It was a short audio book. It's about a girl who believes that she has received a radio transmission from Amelia Earhart. And Amelia Earhart, they just had discovered that her plane had went down and no one could get a hold of her. And this girl receives a transmission from her, and her dad takes her to like the Air Force people or National Guard or whatever, and they basically laugh in their face because she's a girl, and at the time, you know, girls are worth nothing, and she just lets it go. And then it jumps to when she's 80 and she's regretting her life choices, and I'm just like, what? So we don't know anything. Like, it was complete crap in my opinion. It is probably one of the worst books I read, and is definitely my least favorite. So the next 3 books I'm going to talk about are books that I DNF'd last year in the year of 2020. The first book that I DNF'd is Why Is Sex Fun? I don't remember who it's by. I read the first 10 pages. It took me almost an hour and a half to read 10 pages. And I hated every minute of it. It was very scientifical, but it was also very like one-sided opinion and very, I get science and religion sometimes don't mesh. I get that. But don't sit there and in your book put down religion. Or if it's a religion book, don't put down science. Like, why is that a thing? Can't science and religion go together? I think they can. Like, it was just very rough to read. It was very textbook, which was bad enough. And then it was very much one-sided, and it made me feel guilty reading it because I'm sitting here reading this book that is like basically downplaying and being very rude about religion. So yeah, it just wasn't for me. So I DNF'd it and I'm unhauling it. The next 2 books, and the last 2 books, are books I think people are going to give me a really hard time for DNFing, but hear me out. Is Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. I tried, and I tried. I got 2-page, like 200 and something in this book. I just can't with it. I don't know why, but for some reason it just doesn't it just doesn't mesh with me, and I don't mesh with it. I kept pushing because everyone's like, this is like my favorite book and whatever, and so I was like, oh well, I'm gonna love this book. No, I didn't. It was interesting and it was intriguing to a point, but only while I was reading it. And then it was like a struggle to pick it up. I didn't want to pick it up, and I had to force myself to pick it up. And finally I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I should not have to fight myself this much to pick up a book. I obviously don't like it or am not enjoying myself. So what is the point? I DNF'd. Sorry. The last book I want to talk about is going to be another one you guys are going to yell at me. That is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I was listening to this on audio, and I felt very weird about it. I did not like their making fun of religion. I did not like how dark it was. I just did not like the feel that it gave me, and it's just not something that I think I will ever be interested in reading. What I mean, I got like a good 150 pages in, and I was like, I don't want to pick this up ever again. Those were the least favorite books of mine for 2020. Let me know what you thought of my list, if you've heard of any of these, if you've read any of them and think that I'm completely insane, or if you agree with me. Remember that all of my social media links are in the description box below for you if you want to be my friend on any other platform. There are mental health links in the description box below for you as well. If you or someone you know needs them, please use them. My Amazon wishlist is also in the description box below for you if you want to see the books that I am interested in reading, or if you fancy sending me a surprise. Remember, a reader lives 1,000 lives, and so can you, so keep on reading. And remember to stay safe, be kind, be happy, be healthy, and always love one another. See you in the next video. Bye.
You're just gonna walk into my